Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Several people have asked me about the judge in Michigan who's kind of become famous through his Zoom hearings. And I've actually mentioned stories that arose from those hearings in videos I've done. For instance, he was holding a hearing with somebody who was talking to him in a situation that involved someone else who had a restraining order not to contact that person. And during that hearing, he realized that the person that was not supposed to have contact with this person was actually in the room right off camera. So that one made the news. And so not too long ago, he made the news again because he said in a video that was on YouTube that he'd been told by the Michigan Supreme Court to stop putting his stuff up on YouTube. So Zoom hearings with courts generally are public. And we've heard about this. You can watch a lot of these hearings via Zoom. So in the old days, before Zoom existed, if you wanted to, you could go to the court, walk into any courtroom, sit down and watch what's going on. And occasionally there are situations where they might have something that happens off the record, or occasionally, extremely rare circumstances, where they will not have people in the courtroom for something that happens there. But generally speaking, if a courtroom is in session, people from the public can come and sit in the gallery and watch what's going on. So in the days of Zoom now, that means that if a hearing is being conducted by Zoom and it's the equivalent of a public hearing, but just simply being done by Zoom because of COVID, then that would be public also. So the question is there really a difference if these hearings are on Zoom or if they get recorded and put on YouTube? If they're public hearings, what's the deal? Well, Christina sent me the first story about the Supreme Court apparently telling this guy to stop doing this. And then there's an update, which Christina also sent me and says, Steve, there's been an update. And once in a while, it's good for me to wait just a tiny little bit before doing a story to make sure, because something did in fact happen here. From MLive, Marie Weidmeyer wrote this: Michigan Supreme Court did not mean for viral judge to shut down his YouTube stream. They did not mean that. So this is out of St. Joseph County, Michigan, which is the bottom left-hand corner of the state. The YouTube live stream of a St. Joseph County District Court judge may still come back online after a misunderstanding between the judge and the Michigan Supreme Court Administrator's Office. District Judge Jeffrey Middleton first drew national attention in March when an attorney noticed a man accused of domestic violence was in the same room as his victim despite a restraining order. Middleton's courtroom feed went viral again in May when a defendant's inappropriate username showed up on the video. And I had probably 100 people, maybe 200 people send me that link and say, Steve, you've got to do this story, but I don't know how you could. And I can't. And I mean, I would have to have bleeped everything out or just told you that the guy used a very, very inappropriate screen name on his Zoom call. So he comes into court virtually through Zoom, and his name on screen is a obscene name. And it's unclear at what point he became aware of it, or if he simply became aware of it when the judge pointed it out to him. But it's also unclear why he used it. He said later it was a prank someone played on him. But the point is that, you know, when you go to court, you dress up, you act nice. And so when you're on Zoom, you should also dress up and act nice. And so the obscene screen name made national news. The judge then posted a 22-minute goodbye video on YouTube May 17th, saying he decided to shut down the live feed after a conversation with the state court administrator's office in the Michigan Supreme Court. And so in Michigan, like most states, we have a Supreme Court. They oversee all the courts of the state. And the best way to look at that is that there's the Supreme Court, there's an intermediate level, the Court of Appeals, and then beneath that are our trial courts. And they're broken up into two different groups. There's the circuit courts and the district courts. Circuit courts generally handle larger jurisdictions with dollar amounts. And then the lower courts do the lower dollar amounts. But then there's also some distinctions, like the circuit courts do divorces, the district courts do landlord-tenant issues. So there you go. Small claims court, likewise district court. So the Supreme Court oversees all the courts, including this court. So state court officials did not mean for the judge to end his live stream and are asking him to reconsider his decision. This is from Communications Director John Nevin. He said the state court administrator has apologized to Judge Middleton for any confusion regarding the live stream and urges judges statewide to continue live streaming proceedings. On Tuesday evening, Middleton's office told MLive the judge was taking a few days to consider putting his court proceedings back on YouTube. Middleton declined to comment. Otherwise, Michigan's courts moved to virtual hearings at the start of the coronavirus pandemic in March, and most courts have still not resumed in-person hearings. Middleton's courtroom feed went viral May 11th after a defendant logged in with a username that I cannot say out loud, at least not on camera. The defendant appeared unaware of his explicit screen name in the video. The judge said to the defendant, "I'll put you in the waiting room. You can sit in limbo for a while and think about what you call yourself online." The defendant changed his username and was then allowed back into the hearing. The judge did the goodbye video. It got over 100,000 views, hundreds of comments, mostly bemoaning the fact that he was ending what were otherwise entertaining and interesting videos to watch on the internet. Middleton said, "I didn't set out to be a YouTube star. Some people think it's deplorable. Other people have been very thankful and complimentary." And if he's saying that some people think what he's doing is deplorable and he's got negative comments on YouTube, welcome to YouTube, Your Honor. Middleton talked about privacy concerns for defendants who arrived in his virtual courtroom. People who are there for a shoplifting charge or misdemeanors and don't expect one of their worst moments played on YouTube, he said, with people watching from as far away as New Zealand. He said, "We are aware of concerns about privacy that have been expressed by groups ranging from judges to prosecutors to survivors." This is the court administrator now talking. "We're examining existing court rules regarding when court closures are permitted in order to make sure rules regarding live streams follow the law, protect privacy, and maintain public access." So obviously a Zoom hearing and a YouTube live stream are slightly different, but what we're talking about is taking what's happening in a courtroom and making it available via the internet to other people. And getting back to what I said earlier, things that happen in open court, it's a public proceeding. Now, it's true that if you have a hearing in a court on just a random morning, back before COVID, depending what court you're in, I've been in court before with my client where we were the only people on this side of the room. There's a judge, judge's clerk, a court reporter, bailiff maybe, and then me and my client. No one behind us. No one. And so if you're in court on a drunk driving charge, you're going to probably be more comfortable if no one's behind you because you're going, hey, no one's here. This is not embarrassing. In a packed courtroom, you might feel a little bit off. And in a roundabout way, the internet live stream is like a packed courtroom, except that it can be viewed by anybody at any time down the road if it stays on the internet. And that might bum some people out. But it's a public place, and the proceedings are public. And, I know you've seen these. A lot of courtrooms have got video setups now that record everything anyway. And you can get those video tapes, copies of them, and post them on the internet. And that happens. So the idea that if you go to a courtroom and no one's there, no one's going to see it, well, someone could still see it. So the need of the public to have access to the courtroom, I think, is very, very important. So I think what this guy's doing is great. And if he's live streaming it or it's Zoom or both or either, it doesn't matter to me. I think that this stuff needs to be public. And I suspect what somebody was reacting to was they got a ton of publicity over the goofy guy who used a screen name, like I said, that I cannot say out loud. And they thought that somehow that was bringing like embarrassment to the courts. And it's not. That stuff happens. And I've seen people show up in court dressed inappropriately. I've seen judges, I've seen actual judges and other people in courtrooms actually say to somebody, like, you come to court dressed like that? And I know some people are saying, Steve, seriously, if they get called to court and they show up wearing their clothes, what's wrong with that? No, I mean, I've seen people show up with shirts that say things on them, which are close to what this guy had as a screen name. And if I was your attorney and you showed up dressed like that, I would have said, number one, I told you not to dress like that. Because I do. I tell my clients to dress appropriately. I'd say, number two, go in the men's room and turn your shirt inside out. At the very least. Just you're not helping yourself by going in front of the judge with something obscene on your shirt. It's not going to help you. My job is to help you. I'm trying to help you here. So it doesn't help this guy when he uses the obscene screen name. At the end of the day, Middleton said in the video he works for Michiganians and the St. Joseph County residents who have elected him to office since 1980. Now, he used the Michiganders demonym, which I disagree with. I like Michiganians. And he said, I work for the people who work here in Michigan. I think some of these have become embarrassing, perhaps humiliating to the people that elected me to office 8 times. Amid the coronavirus pandemic, some people have started using the YouTube live streams from courtrooms as entertainment instead of for educational uses or official court business, he said. In the video, the judge said he's hopeful that the court will soon move back to in-person hearings, getting rid of the need for live streams. I thank you all for watching, he said. I thank you for the many, many, many positive comments. I've received cards and emails, other messages. I guess for everyone who thinks I'm deplorable, there are some people that thank us for sharing our proceedings with them. And, I think that people who'd criticize him and say, hey, you can't turn this into entertainment, are missing one of the biggest points. And that is that the legal system to many people is scary. It's scary. I talk to people all the time who tell me they think the legal system is scary. Courts are scary. And courthouses are mysterious. They're buildings where scary things happen. And many people live their entire lives never going to court. Or they get called for a jury duty and that's it. Or they might be a witness. Or they might get a thing saying there might be a trial, but the trial gets canceled. And so a lot of people don't know a lot about what happens in courtrooms. I personally think it's educational to put this stuff on the internet, make it available. And I'm actually fascinated to watch how proceedings happen in other states. I've been in almost every courtroom in Michigan. Okay, so for me, seeing something that happens in Michigan courtrooms is not that enlightening for me. I've already seen it. But when I see someone say, hey, I posted a hearing that took place in Hawaii or Nebraska or Alaska or someplace else, I'll watch it just to see, it's similar in this way, but it's different in this way. It's educational. It's educational. And I personally think I'm a big booster of education. And education is not just the stuff that happens in a classroom with a teacher and a bunch of books. That's not just the only way you can get educated. Education is learning, learning about the world, learning what's going on around you, understanding what's happening. And so a lot of what education is simply exposing yourself to stuff that might help you down the road somewhere. If no other reason, just giving you a broader perspective. But if you are watching live streams or Zoom hearings or whatever they might be from a courtroom in Michigan, if it helps you understand what happens in court, that's a good thing. It's educational. And so don't belittle it by saying, it's being done for entertainment purposes. No, it's educational. You'll learn something. And I've mentioned before, a few years back, I had a case where I was representing somebody on a drunk driving charge in southeastern Michigan. And the court clerk called me about a week before the hearing and said, we have a proposal for you. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, this judge likes to go out into the community to different high schools and actually conducts court in the high school. And what they're going to do is they're going to bring out the stuff to simulate a courtroom on the stage of the gymnasium or the auditorium, whichever the case may be. And we're going to conduct court there. It's going to be legal. It's going to actually be court conducted in a high school. If your client will participate in that, doesn't have to, but if you'll participate in that, the judge will give him a break on the sentencing because we'd already agreed to plead to something. Called my client up, told him this. My client said, not a problem. So we go to the high school. I go find the court clerk, and they've got this thing set up in the auditorium. And I look out there, and on the stage, the judge has got a bench, flags, state seal, his gavel, wearing his robe, bailiff, the whole shooting match. It's like they took the courtroom and put it on stage. In the auditorium, students, 10th through 12th grade, watching. The judge is calling cases, and it's exactly like a courtroom. Walk up, they call my case, the client and I walk out there, and we do the exact thing like we always do. And when we're done, judge sentences my guy, goes easy on him. I know he did because I've had other cases in front of the judge identical to that one. We walk out, the court clerk thanked us, said thank you very much. And by seeing what happens, it was doing two things. It was exposing kids to the legal system. They could see what a courtroom looks like if they've never been inside one. And also, they got to see what happens to people who drink and drive. So my guy got off a little tiny bit, but not completely. So it was teaching them two lessons, And so it's educational. So I really am glad that the Supreme Court has clarified for this guy that no, if you want to keep doing this, and I hope he does keep doing it. I've watched some of his videos. I think it's great. And I really do think that it's educational for everybody and good for everyone to watch this stuff. Even if it is entertaining, it's also educational. So there you go. Christina, thanks a lot for sending it. MLive and Marie Weidmeyer wrote it. Michigan Supreme Court did not mean for viral judge to shut down his YouTube stream. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Loneliness is to be avoided. Solitude is to be sought.